Yes, I think Cal's here as well.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. I apologize. I was having some technical issues, which is weird because I'm sitting about 10 feet away from Roxanne right now. So I would like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Park District of Highland Park today, Tuesday, May 25, 2021 at 6:04 p.m. And Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
It says he's connecting to audio.
He
that's
hopped
okay.
out for a
We'll skip
second.
ahead then. Commissioner Kaplan,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
Vice President Grossberg,
Here.
President Ruttenberg,
I am here.
and then Commissioner Bernstein.
Here.
Good. We are all present for the meeting. Executive Director Romes, are there any additions to the agenda?
I do not have any.
All right. Anyone wishing to speak will need to use the raise hand function in Zoom to indicate that they would like to speak. The board secretary will call on registrants who have activated the raise hand feature in alphabetical order. Executive Director Romes, is there anyone from the public attending this meeting who wishes to speak and provide public comment?
There is not. There are no attendees currently.
All right. Is Michelle logged in?
No.
Then I won't welcome her. Michelle Howland is going to be the board liaison to Park District. All right, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roxanne, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bernstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Hi.
Vice President Grossberg,
Yes.
President Ruttenberg.
I vote yes also, the motion carries. We go to the financial forecast, the treasurer's report. Director Peters to present.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Let me just pull this up. Okay. Okay, so on our screen, we have our 2021 financial forecast and treasurer's report, and this is for the period ended April 30th, 2021. All right, we're going to start with our projected cash flows from operations like we always do. And we always want to keep in mind that there is a board policy that we keep a 25% fund balance in our operating funds, which is about $4.1 million. And then we also want to keep in mind that our budgeted cash on hand for December 31st, 2021 is about $12 million. And then when we look at where we are right now, our actual cash on hand at the end of April was 9.6 million. And projecting that out till the end of the year, we project to have roughly $14.4 million cash on hand operating funds. And so whether we look at the projected amount or the budget amount, we are doing fine per our board policy. If we look at our operations specifically, what's been going on for the first 4 months this year, we can see by the green dashed line that our actual revenues are exceeding our budgeted revenues, and our actual expenses are far below our budgeted expenses, so much so that overall at April 30th, we're at about $1.6 million better than what we had originally budgeted for the end of April. I can tell you this is largely due to roughly $234,000 of less payroll expense than was budgeted, and we'll look at that a little bit more closely in a few minutes. We are up by about $500,000 between tennis and golf versus their original budget. And we did receive a couple $100,000 of property tax revenue that came in. It came in late. It was for 2020. However, because it came in so late, it will stay in the 2021 financial statements. If we want to take a look at ourselves versus the 3-year averages for 2017 through 19 for revenue and expenses, we could see in the revenue front, we are still lagging behind where we would normally be in a pre-COVID year. However, with expenses, we are significantly lower than where we would be. So that actually puts us at about $500,000 better than the average of the 3 years leading up to the COVID pandemic. If we look at each fund individually, and we start with the general fund, same sort of thing going on here. We have revenues that are greater than budget, and we have expenses, actual expenses coming in less than what we had originally budgeted for. And that's to the tune of about $500,000. So we're looking good there. Last month, we were requested to look at just 2019 instead of averaging the 3 years. So we have our 2019 actual revenue. If we look at where we were in 2019 at the 212,000 versus being at the 260,000, our revenue is actually better in 2021 than in 2019 at April 30th. That is largely due to those 2020 property taxes coming in. When we compare our actual expenses, where we are for 2021 versus where they were at in 2019, we can see that our expenses are trending less, which would make sense as we have less going on during 2021 so far. If you recall, we were partially closed and had many cancellations back in January. And obviously we were in phase 4, now we're in bridge versus pre-COVID, we were fully functioning. But anyway, even with all that being said, we are still doing better bottom line 2021 versus this time in 2019 by $222,000 in the general fund. If we look at the recreation fund, we're going to see the same sort of thing going on. We can see our actual revenues are greater than what we had budgeted them to be, and our actual expenses are less than where we budgeted them to be, giving us an overall surplus versus where we had budgeted of about $1 million at the end of April. Again, the differences here are due to those property taxes. They're due to reduced payroll expense and to tennis and golf being just doing really well this year. Again, we went back and dropped in just 2019 revenues. If we look at those versus our actual revenues for 2021 versus 2019, we can see our revenues are less than where they were in 2019, which again would make sense since 2019 was pre-COVID. And then when we look at 2019 expenses versus our actual expenses, we're lower there, but we are more low in expenses than we are different from revenue. And so when we look up here and compare where we are at April in 21 versus 2019, we're actually doing better to the tune of $263,000. If we move along and look at the Special Recreation Fund, we can see we're pretty much trending on track for both funds, except for about $19,000. And that's really largely explained by the 2020 property taxes, again, that came in April at $21,000. That's really the bulk of what our difference is there. Same with debt service. We can see here we're up about $35,000. And again, that's due to the $36,000 of property taxes that came in April from 2020. When we look at the capital fund, we've been saying this for the past few months, we have this $200,000 ASLAT grant that came in. It sits in deferred revenue until we actually have expenses against it. As we expense against that grant, more and more money will pull from the deferred into the actual revenue. And so by year end, we'll expect this to be at that $200,000 point as we have budgeted up here. As far as expenses are concerned, they're significantly different. We can see we're actually overall on this fund at about $432,000 more of a surplus than we were anticipating at this time. The capital fund difference is due to a myriad of items. We have had some projects come in under budget. We have had some projects that we've had work done, but the invoicing has been slow to get to us. And we have other projects that are just taking longer for us to get to. And so we haven't had those expenses come in just yet. When we move over and look at payroll, we can see that in April, payroll accumulated, we're at about $2.1 million here in yellow versus the budget of $2.3 million. So we're about $234,000 under budget in payroll at the end of April. We then went down and we pulled in 2019 data, which had been requested last month. And so again, if we look at where we are right now, we're at 2.1 million versus about 2.8 million, which is where we were sitting in 2019 at this time. So that shows that our payroll expense is about $700,000 less than it was in 2019. However, one important thing to note here, we have 26 payroll periods per year. In 2021, we will have 3 payrolls in July and 3 payrolls in December. In 2019, we had 3 payrolls in March, so that is 9 payrolls versus 8. So to get this to more apples to apples, we should back out one of these $300,000 payrolls from March. But even so, payroll expense would then be about $400,000 less. Those 8 payrolls, those first 8 payrolls in 2021 versus 2019. If we look at it on a non-cumulative basis, we can see that just in the month of April, we spent $551,000 in payroll versus we had budgeted to spend $637,000 in April. So we were under budget for payroll at $85,000. Again, we dropped in 2019 only payroll. For April, it's 2 months versus, 2 pay periods versus 2 pay periods. And so we have our $551,000 for 2021. And the 2019 payroll was at $615,000. So when we compare 2021 to 2019, we are $63,000 less with payroll expense this year than we were in 2019. And so in conclusion, we'll want to recall that in January of 2021, the Park District programs and facilities were either partially closed or canceled due to COVID mitigation efforts. Since then, the Park District was able to significantly adjust expenses, especially payroll, at this point to the tune of $234,000 below budget, resulting in $1.6 million of surplus above our original budgeted net revenue. Additionally, vaccinations are steadily increasing, and I actually just heard today that we have hit the 50% point of adults being vaccinated, fully vaccinated in the US. We have positivity rates and hospitalization rates decreasing. Illinois has entered the bridge phase, and we continue to see significant increases in both spring and summer registrations. Furthermore, when comparing 2021 actuals versus 2017 through 2019 averages, we are still $500,000 over the pre-COVID bottom line for the same time period. Finally, for the period ended April 30th, 2021, tennis has a surplus of almost $250,000 more than budget. Golf is at $221,000 more than budget. In fact, all cost centers, except for 2, are operating in a surplus at April 30th, 2021. So all of this places the Park District in a very favorable financial position. Do we have any questions?
Start with the chairman of our finance committee, Cal.
No, we went through this extensively at the finance committee meeting last week. So unless anything's changed since then, Mary Lynn, I have no questions. Okay.
Okay. Terry?
Yeah, my question was just about tennis. Is this a trend we're seeing nationwide in terms of the usage in our great business, or is that more local? Do we know?
I'm going to defer.
Yeah, I don't have a definitive statistical answer for that, but we are certainly hearing that trend locally and nationwide, that is the case. And a lot of that, again, all these outdoor activities that boomed during 2020 are continuing to do very well. People took up tennis, people took up golf, and outdoor recreation type activities. So yes.
So obviously my next question is not a budget question. Well, it kind of is a budget question, and it's probably just looking to the future. Let me go backwards a little bit. Now that we see this trend line starting, what are we doing? Is this the time to talk about that? And what are we doing to help ride this wave?
Yeah, I would say that our tennis staff is obviously when classes fill, they're adding more and they're adding more opportunities. Obviously, our pros, professional teachers are giving more lessons, which is great. Our camp numbers are doing more well. So we're not at capacity, but there certainly is a capacity with the indoor. So nothing from a capital standpoint, if that's where your question is, but certainly as we get closer to the August, when we start looking at our 5-year capital, and we start looking at our budget for 2021, we'll look a little bit more deeply into that. But I don't know if Mitch has anything else to add. But
the only thing I would add is really tennis, similar to golf, has been able to ride the wave of COVID a little differently than a lot of other facilities. We traditionally in the fall and the spring, we haven't ventured outdoors because of weather challenges, but because of mitigations, we have moved a lot more outdoors, and that actually gives us an opportunity to expand. And we have a lot more courts outdoors. So if we're instead of longer wait lists, we're able to accommodate more. And the other interesting thing for us was in January, when we were, as Mary Lynn had said, dealing with a lot of challenging mitigations, one area that we could still manage was one-on-one training. And so if you look at our private lessons, they went through the roof because people still wanted tennis. And indoors, obviously we couldn't do anything outdoors in January, but indoors we could, and people just navigated to do a lot more private lessons. So it helped us manage through some of the toughest times of COVID, and I think that's why you're seeing some of this large surplus right now.
Great.
Well, perhaps the follow-up to Terry's question is, are there things that we should be doing to just keep capturing these people and expand on it?
If you're asking right now, the answer is yes, and I think it's what tennis is doing, and I think we'll continue that conversation, and we'll probably have some updates when we get to, like I said, the budget time. But certainly retention and being creative with new program ideas is part of the seasonal routine with the tennis staff. So
Excellent. Good. Brian Kaplan.
thank
No
you.
questions. Everything was answered at the finance meeting.
Okay, Jen?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right, good. I guess you get out pretty easy today, Marilyn.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good report. Unfinished business, Sunset Woods Playground renovation update. Manager Schwartz to present. Or maybe not.
No, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, hold on 1 second, please. Oops. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, great. All right, so tonight I'm going to provide an update on the Sunset Woods Park Playground renovation. We are wrapping up design development, and we're moving into construction documents. So in design development, we're finalizing the overall design, and in the construction documents phase, Hitchcock is really adding in more details to the plan set for the contractors to bid on the project. So we're at the point where we have design ready to share in advance of progressing the project into the bidding phase. So this is the overall layout. I'm going to focus on the specific areas further on in the presentation, but here I want to highlight the connectivity and the entry improvements. You can see that we're improving entry into, you see my pointer on here? There you go. All right, so we are improving the entry into the 5 to 12. We're creating a designated entry. It's very welcoming. We're also doing a similar entry off of the parking lot a little bit further north. And then we're providing improved connectivity between the 2 to 5 and the 5 to 12 with the circular pathway system. And I'm going to show you that side by side with what we have now. So you can see that there's currently no connectivity between the 2 to 5, and we're really creating a very designated entry to both of the playgrounds and providing that connectivity. So here in the 5 to 12, I'm going to start with the layout, and then I'll move into the specific pieces, the equipment pieces, and then I'll show the pour in place design. So with the 5 to 12, our main structure, we have the rocket ship, we have a group spinner, a group group spinner, group swing, embankment play, swings, and a net climber. So here is the rocket ship. This is in progress. This is the difference with our current rocket ship is that this has a dual tower that is supposed to mimic kind of a launch tower. So there's a lot of, we've increased play value with this system. We heard that the primary structure was important to the community, keeping with the rocket ship theme. So there's play here on this launch tower. There's a group spinner. There's lots of different ways to climb up. And then the main difference with the main structure is that in our current one, it's kind of like a step system. You just climb up all the way. Here, we're adding play value by different ways to traverse the tower. So there's a lot of play value at each level. So you can climb up on a rope system. You can climb on a cargo net between 2 levels. There's a ladder to climb up. And then we also have this exterior tube connecting 2 different levels. So there's a lot of play value moving between the levels, which is different from our current tower. And then we have the other elements. So we have group spinner, net climber, sorry, I keep saying group swing, group spinner, embankment play. And that's another custom element of this playground. And then the pour in place design is following that solar theme. So I'm going to move to the 2 to 5 area. So this is the 2 to 5 area. It has, again, a primary structure, which we heard was important to the community, a balance activity, sand play, a more ground play, talk tubes, and swings. So on the left, you can see the primary structure. Again, this is a nature theme. And then the 2 photos in the middle, top and bottom, are representing the sand play. And then the images all the way to the right, you can see a tandem swing, which will be a new addition. We don't have at Sunset Woods right now, in addition to tot swings and ADA swings. The balance, which is meant to mimic kind of a vine on the ground, and then the talk tubes, which look like kind of worms out of the ground. So it provides the talk tube play and then also some ground play. And then the pour in place design, which again is a nature theme, kind of like a river with some stepping stones and leaves that also add to possible play activities with this age group. And I'll also add that there's some mounding too within the pour in place, so that also adds some play value there. So I know it says 2 to 5 play area, but it's meant to be the plaza. So I apologize for the error in my label. But here I'm showing the middle section of the playground renovation, which again is that improved connectivity between the 5 to 12 and the 2 to 5 area, and really creating and designating this as a play space with some concrete that distinguishes this play area from the rest of the park. Being that this is Highland Park's signature playground and park in our downtown. So in our master plan, we had talked about adding a plaza. So this is the plaza alternate. So it's building off of this circular shape and adding that brown area, which would be a brick paver patio with tables. Those are the darker brown kind of crosses in the middle of that brick, that lighter brown circle. And then the crescent shape around it is grass. So again, this is creating a gathering space, creating a space for people to make a day of the outing to the park, and providing a place to see all the different play spaces at Sunset Woods. The plaza alternate is an additional $39,000. I'm going to go through budget, but just to give you a sense, that would be the add to include this brick patio area. So we presented this at Finance Committee, and we had been asked to add some examples of where you see this elsewhere. So I'm going to show some other areas, our neighboring suburbs, downtown park. So this is downtown Glenview, Jackman Park. This is a nice example of a brick patio paver just adjacent to their downtown playground. This is right across the street of the Dairy Bar, if you're familiar with Glenview, off of Lehigh and Glenview Road. So you can see the nice picnic tables on the patio, really creating a space for people to, again, make a day at the park. And here's Hubbard Woods in Winnetka. This was this past Saturday. This is a favorite destination for me and my family. So you can see it was hot. It was hard to get a table. People were there enjoying the neighboring restaurants and ice cream shop, and just really making a day at the park. It was hard to find a table. So that's another example of a gathering space next to a playground. Downtown Glenview, very similar. This is Friends Park. This is across the street from the Hometown Cafe. Again, table, patio adjacent to a playground. And then lastly, downtown Northbrook, this is the Village Green Park. This is off Shermer, across the street from like the Kamahachi and the Baskin Robbins there. This one has fewer tables, but it has that sense of kind of seating, plaza, seating wall area in between their various play spaces. So I'm going to move on to budget. And as I mentioned, we're wrapping up design development. And as we start getting into construction documents, we are now getting real pricing. And so at this point, the project is coming in over budget. But we understand that Sunset Woods is the community's downtown park. It's our signature playground. And the comments that we've heard are to take this opportunity to make the necessary improvements to do this project well. So with that sentiment in mind, we're striving to keep the project within budget. So we're already working with Hitchcock to value engineer the project and find areas where we can reduce costs. And we're also strategizing on how to bid this project to keep it under budget. And this is all while trying to, or striving to, produce a playground that will meet community expectations. So how to read this graph, the numbers on the right, or I'm sorry, the left are the estimates that we presented in February, and those were from the schematic design cost estimates. And the column in the middle are the cost estimates that we got just a week ago. And then the column on the right is the variance.
Amalia?
So, yeah.
Sorry. I just want to know, under testing and soil analysis, the math doesn't work out there. So I'm just, what's wrong?
Oh, that is just maybe a typo. Because the numbers, the variance might be wrong, but the numbers are right. 20,000 was budget, and our estimates are coming in at 12.5. I'll double check. Thanks for catching that. All right, so for site construction, we were estimating in February 450,000, and here in May we're coming in at just under 600,000. So that variance is about 145,000. Hopefully my math is right there. And
Sadly, that math is right. Yes.
so that's the reason for that overage is can be attributed to our increase in concrete at pathways and curbing throughout the project. Also, pour in place, the budget right now is looking at doing pour in place for a majority of the play areas. So we've always known that depending on budget, we may have to reassess the balance of pour in place and engineer wood fiber and make more of a mix. And then also fencing. We had made some decisions to keep a larger fence enclosure for the 2 to 5 than was estimated during schematic design, and steel prices are high right now. So that is also contributing to the overage. Play equipment, it was 400,000, now at 429,000. Testing and soil analysis we covered. Professional services were under about $7,000. And then contingency, we were holding 150,000, and now we're at a little over 100,000. And that's going to continue to go down as we move further in the project. We're still holding about 3% for design contingency, and we also have bidding contingency and construction contingency at this point. So as we move further along in the project, we'll reduce those percentages as necessary. So you see that we're coming in just about $116,000 over what we had originally estimated back in February. And then at this bottom line, this bottom row here is showing that we have 1.1 earmarked for 2021. So that estimate back in February was $50,000 over those dollars that were earmarked for 2021. And we're at this point, based on the cost estimates from last week, we're about $166,000 over that dollar that we have earmarked in the capital plan or in the budget. But again, we're working closely with Hitchcock to try to keep these costs down, but still meet expectations. So I'm going to end with timeline, and then I'll open it up for questions. Right now, we are to meet the project completion of targeting the end of this year, possibly depending on weather, going into spring 2022. We are going to issue the bid on June 10th, our bid opening on June 24th. And then we're targeting the park board meeting on July 13th. So then going to finance committee just a little bit before that on July 8th. And then starting construction mid-August. Are there any questions?
Let's start with Cal Bernstein.
Yes, thanks, Amalia. I really like the design. I like your ideas that they've come up with, and from the input that you received, both from the stakeholders and also from the public. My question is going back towards the budget. If you can go back to that slide,
Sure.
please.
Yeah.
So the $166,000, I'm going to call it deficit, or is that including the $39,000 for the gathering area, the circle area?
No, that's not included.
So that's an additional $39,000.
Yes.
Are these additional costs between the February estimates and the May estimates? Is any of that derived from the increase in material costs that's everyone's saying who's doing construction now?
The fencing.
Is the fencing, and
yeah,
and that's just the material for the.
Yeah, I would think that the steel cost is up.
Yeah, cost of everything is up. I mean, lumber's quadrupled in price in the last 6 months. So, I mean, everything has gone up in price. So I mean, I get why the cost, why there's a difference between the February and the May estimates, and it's really no fault of our staff. It's just what the marketplace is doing right now. I obviously, this is our signature park, and we're trying everything possible to make this really special for the community. And I do like the idea of the gathering area. I think it creates a situation where it's a destination. It's just not someone just going to the park to play, but someone to actually go there and spend an extended period of time, if not the entire day there. So if we could somehow figure a way to beg, borrow, and steal to try to figure out how to make it work with that gathering area, I would be in favor of that. But again, we have to be mindful that we're at an aberration right now because of what construction costs are, and that's what's driving up the cost. And that's just the price of doing business.
Terry?
Thanks. I would like to go back to the drawing of the large playground, because when Jen and I met the crew there, we saw things that we had never heard about, and not in a negative way, but it was just very interesting. So, yeah.
Is this the one?
Well, there was another one that showed, yeah. So I wanted to draw attention because the guy from Hancock, is that what it's called?
Hancock.
Yeah, he showed he had us focus on this little square where it was. Remember that on the south end? So yeah, that whole green area there is basically new. Can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so the footprint right now of the 5 to 12, if you go there, it kind of feels like there's a lot of dead space in the playground footprint. So we're reducing the footprint slightly, and that's also contributing to improving the cross slope, which is going to bring this playground. I don't want to, it's going to be easier to maintain this playground to be ADA compliant. Because of the grade change there. So we're bringing the footprint comes down all the way over here. So it's almost like we're bringing the footprint over here. You can use this pathway as a means to evaluate that. I know this aerial is not great, but the playground footprint is almost in line with this entry, which is same. So you can see that this little kind of portion of the engineered wood fiber is going to be converted or restored back to turf. And the play layout, we're not losing the amount of play pieces in this area. In fact, I think we're getting more play components, but it's going to feel kind of more unified.
So I know some of the board members, when we were talking about just the master plan for the park, and we, not only the board members, but members of the community are sensitive to loss of any type of green space. Well, in this area, we are definitely gaining green space there. If we could draw your attention then to the north of that park to where the gathering area is on the map, yeah, to your right. So do you see how there's a green circle there? That is meant to reflect lawn space, I believe, again, in our hopes to try to keep it as green as possible. But what we noticed when we toured the younger park is that we have turf in there, but you wouldn't recognize it as turf. It gets very little sun. It gets trampled all the time. It's got sand kicked in it. And by the time it's been trampled on enough, it's not going to look beautiful and green unless we put a little fence around it, or we had a sprinkler system going on up through there, which is why I'm a proponent of making that brick. I just think it's going to look so much nicer there. And it also brings it in line. Amalia, you probably don't have it handy, but I'm thinking about the little seating plaza that's down by the clay courts. That is a wonderful little oasis there. And so we already have kind of precedent for it in this park. We have it by the tennis courts. So I'm big a fan of making that brick as well. I know it's a little bit more, but I think we could do some things to bring our budget much closer. And then I was hoping you would just speak about that. It looks almost like a football right along the side of the 2 to 5 park, the brown patch. So we already have a seating area there. Can you talk a little bit about what?
Oh, you're talking right here?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So if you can see it here, there is kind of like a brick patio there already with some donation bricks. And there's a kind of like a half circle bench. We've identified this area as underutilized. There's a drinking fountain there as well. So we're going to be reusing those donor bricks, reducing that space, getting more green space, and using that, we're replacing the water fountain so that will stay as it is or in the same location, and then adding some bike parking to this area, again, contributing to like making this a space, a destination.
Thank you.
Anything further, Terry?
No.
All right, Brian Kaplan.
No questions. They've all been answered. I think it's a great project. I was not a big fan of the new fangled spaceship at first, but as time went on, I can handle it. But I used to plan it as a kid. I like the old one.
But it never left the ground. This one's gonna fly.
One's too fancy.
Yeah, Jen?
Just a couple of things. So Terry covered a lot of what I wanted to say. Amalia, for the seating area, the gathering space, is the seating wall included in that 40,000, or that was another alternate?
No, that is not included. I think our group, we were looking to no longer add
good.
that seat wall. Yeah.
Okay. And then are we doing donor bricks anywhere else additionally? Is that a thought, or for that area, or no? They're not.
Time we weren't, but there can be opportunities to do that.
Yeah, and I'll just
It'd be
add to
kind of
that.
cute if they were in the seating area. I mean,
Yeah, that was always something that we did kind of throw out there to say, since it wasn't part of the original budget, it could be something that the foundation helps to raise funds for. And so certainly we can sell bricks if it's going to have bricks anyway, and that would help create some extra funding. So, yeah.
and it sounds like Commissioner Kaplan wants to bid on the top of the rocket ship. So if we can auction that off, that'd be fantastic. There are a lot of cute, names carved in there, and it's a cool piece. But I can't wait to see the new rocket ship. So my question was more about the cost of that area. I do think the gathering area is really important, and I think as a parent, we've always known as parents who go to this park that it's kind of hard to watch everybody from one place. There's no bench that you can see everybody. Your back is usually to one of the play areas, that kind of thing. So having a place where you can kind of situate yourself, drop your stuff, and see what's going on is, I think it's great. And a lot of the questions were answered for me. The hillside play, I didn't realize how well that was received in terms of community response. So I had initially had questions about that, but I kind of fell in love with that. So I'm good for now. And I'm interested in, as Amalia said, kind of value engineering as the bids come in, and, internally managing the general contracting piece of it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. I have three questions. First of all, am I correct that we're eliminating a water play area?
There was the water play area is part of the master plan. It was not. Yeah, it was
It's
not never part
It's
of
not
it.
in this. Okay, good. I was going to say we have to limit it. The question a couple questions, and I'm pointing at the screen, which you can't see, but what is the distance between the seating area and the little kids playground, what is that distance? So if you're a parent and you're sitting here, your kids are how far away from you?
I don't know that off. I can measure that. I don't know that off the top of my head. It is not very far. But I don't want to say a number. I'd rather
Okay.
measure that and get back to you.
Yeah, okay, and the reason I'm asking is I would think that proximity for parent or grandparent to the 2 to 5 area is more important than proximity to the bigger kids area. And, looking at the scale, looking at the drawing, it looks like there is a greater distance. And is there a reason why the two play areas are so far apart?
I don't know why the two play, we're sticking with kind of the existing boundary. The reason for the location of the circle is primarily because there are so many mature trees there. And so the mature trees that I'm kind of hovering over here, we can't encroach over there. So this was the space where we're only taking down one tree, and it was a tree that the city forester, when we met out there with him, identified it as a tree that was not in good health, and it wasn't a significant tree, so we're able to take it down. There are 3 trees that are smaller in diameter that we're relocating as part of adding the circular pathway system. But that is the main reason. And I hear what you're saying about being close to the 2 to 5. But because of the mature trees in this park and that being one of our initiatives that we're trying to achieve and is saving or preserving those trees, this was the best place for that space. And it is still, and I'll get the number for you, but it's still within close proximity to that area.
Well, I'm just saying, if we could cant it up to the north to lessen the distance, I think that there would be a lot of people who would be a little more comfortable with it, especially when you're dealing with the little kids. And let me just go on. And let me go on to the pictures you showed us from Glencoe, and I'm very familiar with that, and the Hubbard Woods. The thing about them is that the seating areas are really right there with the little kids, especially Glencoe. And that's the logic I'm using to say the seating area should be as close as possible to the little kids, if not integrated into it. Other than that, I really don't have any anything. I will say that the budget variance is probably 166,000 if we put in the seating area, but I think that's an important aspect to the project.
Can I respond to something that Barney was talking about? Because I did bring that exact thing up when I was there. Again, not having grandkids or, young kids at this point, I was wondering, like, would a mom that's sitting within that circle or a dad sitting within that circle, wouldn't they want to be inside, And so a couple of things. First of all, it was answered in a couple of different ways, and I'll let Jen, who actually jumped in at that point. But inside the playground I thought that's where I would be. Like, I thought I'd be pushing this 3-year-old on the swing, or I'd be catching them from the slide, or I'd be rolling around with them on the grass. We do have that wall, right? The wall is staying up there, and there's a path around that wall as well, for the parents and grandparents that feel a need. Like, I feel like I would, to be right there with them. Of course, as they get closer to 5, they gain a little bit more independence. But I had that same question, and it was answered to my satisfaction. But Jan, maybe you could speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, first of all, I felt the seating area is really close to the gate. So that I was more concerned with the gate than actually being in the play area once they get a little bit bigger. So if all I've got is my little, then I'm in there with them. If I've got all my kids there, then I'm, kind of out hanging with my mom's friends, and I feel pretty good. I'm close to the gate, and I don't know, but I don't know.
I would just,
I might be a little more free range parent than some others, but it works when you're, I think we have to go there, Barney, and just take a look and
Yes,
kind
I
of see,
agree.
here's where we're gonna be.
I agree with you. And I will say that with my grandkids until they're 5 years old, and maybe when they're 5, I'm going to be in the little kid area. When they get, maybe when they're 5, they'll say, go over there, and I go sit over there, but there's no question. I'm just don't want it to be, and again, we can't do it because we don't have a scale, Amalia. And if it's 10 feet on this, that's one thing. If it's 35 feet, then I think we have to move it. That's all. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else have questions for Amalia? Hearing none. Thank you, Amalia. That was nice. Thank you. We're getting closer, very much closer. So we'll move on to the new business. And the first item is the approval of Brown Park ground lease agreement for the temporary fire station. Executive Director Romes.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'll keep this relatively brief and certainly answer any questions if you have any, but we have discussed this at previous park board meetings. And so you are all aware, the city of Highland Park is rebuilding the Ravinia Fire Station. And as they construct a new Ravinia Fire Station, since it's going to be in the same location, they need a temporary spot so that they can continue with their essential fire services during construction. So Brown Park is directly across from the current fire station, and they asked us last year if we would consider leasing the short term to them that property. And then last month, I brought to the board some lease terms, very general terms to the board, and we had full consensus from the board to support this lease agreement for a temporary fire station at Brown Park. And since then, they have drafted that lease agreement. Our attorneys have reviewed it, staff have reviewed it, and I've sent it to the board. It would seem that with the feedback, we have come to an agreement of the terms, and therefore tonight we are recommending approval of the ground lease for Brown Park to the city of Highland Park. And the agreement was in your packet, so I would be happy to elaborate if anybody would like or answer any questions.
Let me just jump in and say we're not charging the city rent for this. It's part of our obligation to the community and to our sister government. So, Is there a motion for Executive Director Romes to enter into an agreement with the city of Highland Park for the Brown Park ground lease agreement for a temporary fire station?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
I
Cal?
just have one thing to add. I reviewed the lease and Barney, they incorporated your suggestion from our previous meeting with regards to the utilities, that if we decide after the city abandons the site and cleans it up, that we have the ability to reuse the utilities. So that was a good catch on your point, on your part. And so I'm in total favor of this agreement.
Excellent. Cal, thank you. Terry?
I'm good.
Brian?
Good.
Jen?
No questions.
Okay. Roxanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Vice President Grossberg,
Yes.
President Ruttenberg.
I vote yes. Also, the motion carries. Thank you. COVID-19 Emergency Operations Planning Update, Executive Director Romes.
Yes, thank you. Again, I will keep this very brief. I think everyone is aware the CDC as well as Governor Pritzker updated the guidelines regarding face coverings for those who are fully vaccinated. So we are now following those guidelines, working with, of course, our Park District Risk Management Association. An email went out to the community. We have now posted signs on our doors. And basically what it says is fully vaccinated individuals are not required to wear a mask or social distance outside for any of our outside programs and facilities. And then individuals who are not fully vaccinated, of course, are still encouraged to wear that face mask and social distance when outside. As far as inside, again, fully vaccinated, they only have to continue wearing face masks in our general congregating areas. So when you enter a facility or you are in a lobby or locker room or common bathroom with others or a spectator area, the masks are still required inside of our facilities. But when you're in a program, if you're working out, playing tennis, things of these nature, if you are fully vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask. So other than that, we are still working with our Risk Management Association on guidelines for staff. Staff are still following the previous guideline and wearing them at all times, except for when they're working independently or if they're outside and can maintain 6 feet. We do anticipate those guidelines will be updated soon as well, especially since we're approaching phase 5, but we will work to get those updated very soon as well. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay.
Everybody is shaking their heads. Jen, we can't see you, so I don't know if you're shaking your head. No.
Sounds like she's good.
We'll assume there are no comments.
No
Thank
questions
you.
from me.
We've already passed it. Sunset Valley Golf Club Youth Golf Development Center outing. Congratulations, Brian Kaplan. And short game area grand opening. Manager Ox and Director
My team
Nicole.
got the highest score we won.
Yeah.
Ryan.
That was
Good
good.
evening, everyone. I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
Lee.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, now we can.
Yes.
All right. So first off, I just want to thank the entire Park District team, the Park Board, the Parks Foundation Board, who made yesterday's grand opening a success. So this spring, through donations and yesterday's sold out golf outing, the Parks Foundation was able to raise over $45,000 to cover the final expenses for the Youth Golf Development Center. This new amenity at Sunset Valley will be used for many generations to come and help grow the game of golf. Special thanks goes to Joel Hirsch for his tremendous generosity that allowed us to bring his vision to life. And this is the final complete vision of the Youth Development Center at Sunset Valley. And this site was the old Parks building used to sit a few years ago. This is the walkway that was put in that allows access over to the short game area. This will be walking only and no carts. And this is the group shot of the entire team. So thank you everyone that made yesterday's event a huge success. Any questions?
No, nothing but compliments, I think.
I think that's the key. You and your staff did a great job, Ryan. Everybody involved did.
And if you go back to that picture, you'll see that I missed the golf ball.
Barney?
Yeah.
I sent an email to Brian a couple hours ago. With COVID, you forget how well our staff does special events. And it's been a long time since we've done one. And yesterday was another home run, and it was just an amazing day from the beginning to the end. And the golf staff and all our staff need to be complimented and thanked for those things don't get done in a vacuum, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to many more special events as we turn the corner on COVID.
Very nicely said, Cal. Thank you for doing that. Are there any other comments or questions for Ryan? Ryan, I have a question.
But
We are the home of the Highland Park High School golf teams, right?
yes.
Is there anything that indicates that? Do we have like a banner? Do we have, anything from the that links us to the high school golf team, which at the club?
They have 2 trophies in the pro shop. That's all we have right now. Currently.
Why not? Why? I think what Barney's going for, if I can, a plaque or something up there that says "Home of the Giants."
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
I like that a lot. Yeah, something with other
Great
teams
idea.
up. Yeah, another team pulls up to a basketball stadium. They know where they're going. You know, the home of the Warriors, the home of the Giants, whatever it is. I think that's a great idea.
That's a great idea, Barney.
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. Are there any other questions or comments besides praising Ryan and Liz for the task that was done? Boy, everyone's quiet tonight. Liz, is there anything you want to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was a great event, and thank you everyone for participating. And you know, we had beautiful weather, and the course looked fabulous. And Ryan and Cole and Eileen did a fabulous job. So it was really fun to see everybody and be with everybody.
Yeah. And look at this great picture that's on the screen. I mean, you know, good grief. It's so green, so wonderful. Well, thank you. So let's move on to the director's report. Brian Romes.
Yep, the only thing that I really want to mention is that this weekend, summer really begins. Our Aqua Park opens up to the public on Saturday. Our swimming beach at Rosewood will be guarded from 10 to 6. So we'll have swimming at Rosewood Beach. Boating season officially kicks off at Park Avenue. So it is going to be a very exciting time since at least for the Aqua Park, we didn't have it last summer at all. So we're really excited to bring that service back to the community. Obviously taking reservations at Hidden Creek Aqua Park. So those open up tomorrow. If anybody wants to swim this weekend, you could start your reservation tomorrow. We'll change those guidelines as we are informed, but we are all about getting those open on Saturday. That's really all that staff is focused on the next 3 days. Making sure we have a safe, enjoyable summer. So that's it.
Hey, Brian, our swim, I'm sorry, there's some, we're issuing to the residents a pass of some sort to use Rosewood Beach, aren't we? Swim passes?
Yeah, they get a free pass for all the residents, and they also get 10 free guest passes so that they can bring a guest who maybe not be a resident, but you know, is visiting them or staying with them or going along with them. Non-residents do pay a fee, and obviously we are doing these things to control capacity, but also you know, preserve the fact that it's not a huge beach, although it is a good size for the community. And so yes.
And how do you get those passes?
Now they must be getting in person at the Recreation Center of Highland Park. You can also, this weekend we'll have staff on site at Rosewood Beach selling them or giving them away. So when you get there, if you don't have it, you can get it at the Lower Rosewood Beach this weekend as well, or stop by the Recreation Center anytime.
Great, thank you.
I have a question about Aqua, the Hidden Creek. Did they expand? I knew the original plan had it kind of in quadrants, and it was like 50 in each, or where are we now?
It's 100 in each, so our maximum is 200. It was 100, so we're at 200 right now. We do anticipate they'll update those guidelines at some point, but for this weekend, when you reserve your spot, you will have a section that you will sit with your people, and you'll have those reserved seats. So that's the plus side of making a reservation, is you actually get a chair.
Terry, and Terry can buy a seat license, can't he?
Maybe next year.
All right. Any other questions? Good, thank you. Any board comments?
Actually, I have one.
Yes, Cap.
You know, now that I was at the grocery store today, and I was thinking about this, I saw people walking in without masks, and you know, I think that we should, you know, at least have the staff start thinking about what our meetings may look like in the future once we enter stage 5, whether we continue Zooming, you know, obviously we'll come in person, but also continuing, allowing for maybe a greater level of participation from the community if we still Zoom the meetings. And at least I'd like to know, we don't have to talk about it tonight, but if staff can come back with a recommendation on what our meetings may look like in the future.
Just on that point, Brian and I were talking about it earlier, and we're starting to come up with a proposal. And one thing, we're going to soon establish committees, which we definitely want to have in person, just for the interchange. Okay, any other comments? None? Now, open to the public to address the board. Or do we have any public?
No attendees.
All right. So then we'll have a short, I hope, closed session. That would just be the commissioners. Is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following section of the Open Meetings Act? Section 2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline of the district, including legal counsel to the district.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roxanne, please call the roll.
Second.
Yeah,
Thank you, Cal. Good move.
that's good.
Very timely.
I'm looking at
Roxanne?
somebody else, I'm sorry.
Roxanne, we're going to ignore everybody and please call the roll.
Commissioner Bernstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Vice President Grossberg,
Yes.